Hi, and welcome to the Serial Killers podcast. It's a podcast all about the pests, diseases and problems that affect arable crops. Each week we're going to do a deep dive into one of those particular problems. Hi Josie.
Hello.
So today on the Serial Killers podcast we've got a physiological disorder rather than a pest, disease or a weed.
Yeah.
That's good. And it's, have I said it's lodging? Lodging.
Yeah.
So not having a new house, but when your crops fall over.
That's right.
Bad times. And you see it.
Didn't even realise it had its own word.
Didn't you? Oh, well,
No,
there you go.
I do now.
Yeah. So when you see a flattened field, I always feel for the farmers because it's got to they've got to that point and then it's decided to fall over and, and all that wastage and loss of quality.
That's right.
Yeah. So it's caused a variety of different reasons.
Lots of different things cause it.
Some things might be the primary reason and other things might be the secondary reason. So obviously when the wind comes and it's very windy, that's the primary reason, but there will be secondary causes to that. So let's just jump into it. What's one of the reasons that might cause lodging in a crop?
Very wet conditions, because then obviously the roots can't anchor themselves into the soil.
Well, there's two reasons wet conditions is, and that's one of them. The roots, poor root growth and root establishment is one, but also when the crop becomes flooded, it stimulates stem elongation and that weakens the stem, and that flood-induced stem elongation has been bred out of a lot of wheat.
Yes, it has,
and because it's so detrimental to lodging and things like rice, it's a big one as well. And so that's one of the key ones. Flooding, wet conditions is a big issue. Any other conditions?
high nitrogen.
Exactly.
Because that will encourage sappy growth, won't it?
Yeah, I call it leggy growth.
Yeah, sappy.
Yeah, wheat growth.
Yeah.
Low lignin content, and then applying the right form of nitrogen as well. So nitrate-based fertilizers will produce the most luscious leafy growth and low root growth, whereas ammonia-based ones will produce the opposite. So that's something to look at. And then two other nutrients that affect it would be silicon and calcium. So silica produces strong cell walls like glass, and calcium creates calcium pectate, just like jam, and that provides rigidity as well. So making sure that your crops have got ample silicon and calcium is useful, and that so we sell a silicon-based fertilizer, and a lot of farmers use it to prevent lodging in arable crops. One of the things I found counterintuitive was that increasing the planting density, the sowing density, can increase lodging, and I thought more tightly packed the crop.
No, setting seed further apart actually probably allows each plant to be stronger in itself.
Yep. I mean, the data backs that up. So,
and then it also means that your drainage will be better. Where they're all crammed together, you're going to have poor drainage, weak growth, aren't you?
Yeah, I was just thinking of it as, like in a football sort of stand, all those people packed in together. But yeah, I suppose. And then having a high canopy.
That's right.
Level compared to the root system as well. So again, nitrogen, nitrate-based fertilizers, that's going to be an issue.
That's right. And they recommend that you don't apply any fertilizer until the grain is 3 to 4 weeks old.
Oh, right. Okay. It depends what the fertilizer is, though.
Yeah.
I'd say. Yeah. And did you come across the 3 different types of lodging?
Yes, I did.
Yeah, go on.
I did.
So one was root lodging, where the roots just collapse.
Yeah.
I think
there's another one where it literally just folds over.
Yeah, that's stem lodging.
And then there's another one where it just pulls out of the ground.
There's brackling, where
Yeah.
it just sort of falls apart, yeah. So I think stem and root are probably the most common one. Other secondary impacts, things that will impact lodging, compaction. Obviously, that will limit root growth and increase waterlogging and soil health. Any sort of root disease will also improve. So Pythium root rot, take all, these are going to be things that are going to increase the chances of lodging.
Weeds.
Weeds?
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't come across any weed.
Yeah, weeds and fungal diseases. There are the conditions that will.
I suppose like a really big brome or wild oats could impact on the weight. I thought field direction. I'm wondering westerly.
Shade.
Yeah.
Shade.
And hedges.
Yeah.
So if you had
if they're in the shade, they're going to elongate, aren't they?
Oh, yeah.
You're going to get the etiolation.
Yeah.
So then that's going to make them weaker when it comes to a storm or wind.
So maybe north facing is the worst.
Probably, because you need them to be nice, tight, compact plants.
Yeah. Cool. And then things you can spray on to prevent lodging. Plant growth regulators.
Yeah, that keeps them nice and...
short.
Yes.
So reduces the stem elongation, plant growth regulators, and they do that by inhibiting gibberellin synthesis.
That's right.
Which leads to cell elongation. And there are a number of different compounds that can do this: chlormequat and prohexadione, and various others. I don't think paclobutrazol used to be a common one, but that's not authorized anymore. A lot of farmers want to get away from using PGRs. One, because they've got questionable environmental safety. Two, they're expensive, so it's a cost you can get away with without using it. So a lot of my growers, they use silicon and clever fertilizing techniques to get away with not using a PGR. And so one of the other reasons I think farmers should move away from PGRs is that they are fairly residual. So in horticulture, if you're using a PGR, you would probably throw the grow media away or recycle it, because the next crop's going to be impacted. It's going to be slower growth. You think about, let's call them indoor farmers. They always throw their crop away because they use a lot of PGRs on those crops. But in farming, I don't know if anyone's done any study of the crop that comes after a crop that's treated with PGRs is negatively impacted. And I think because they've got quite a long half-life, these PGRs, there's a very high chance they could be. So if I was a farmer personally, I would be looking to get rid of PGRs if I could.
Mm-hmm.
So that's something to consider. Losses from lodging can be, from 20 to up to 75% in a bad year. But if you think about it, if it's caused by a storm and then that grain is then on the ground and it's getting wet, then quality is going to be impacted significantly as well.
That's right. New strains of cereal are being developed all the time with genes that are semi-dwarf. So really, I think one of the answers is to getting researching your seed type. Yeah,
I mean, the recommended list has a lodging resistance rating for every variety commonly used. And that's something you should consider, especially if you're in an exposed area where,
they've got number ratings from 1 to 9 for brackling and all sorts of different types of lodging.
At least this is one problem that's not going to, the problem is not going to evolve to, not like an insect or a fungus that's going to evolve resistance. But with climate change and more severe weather patterns, lodging could become more of an issue.
Yeah, and it's natural.
And with hedging being removed as well, this could be an issue.
Yeah.
If you remove a hedge, could be worst case scenario.
You haven't got those shelter belts, have you?
No. Any other issues on lodging you found? Any top facts?
I've got some interesting facts.
Go on.
So when I was looking at lodging, I thought, crop circles, like anybody that is like me would think.
Obviously, that's the first thing that comes to mind, crop circles.
And when I started reading up about it, it was like, no, crop circles are nothing to do with lodging, blah, blah, blah. However, crop circles, do you know, they're down to a couple of blokes called Doug and Dave. Yeah, Doug and Dave in the pub, they drew up their designs and then they'd go out at night with like big pieces of wood and string and flatten areas. I'm not sure how the farmers felt about that, but it brings a lot of tourists in. Yep. That was in the early 70s. However, before the late 20th century, there were such things as witches' rings, which actually formed a circle of lodging.
Yeah.
And that was to do with uneven nitrogen distribution in the fields.
Yeah. And they do say that Britain has the most tornadoes per square mile than any other country. I don't know where that fact comes from.
No.
But like mini tornadoes, so maybe, mini whirlwinds.
Yeah, but there's two blokes, Dave and Doug.
Dave and Doug, or Doug and Dave, yeah?
Doug and Dave, yeah.
Yeah, so they are, I mean, I wouldn't want to get caught doing
They kept themselves very, very secret.
Yeah, because they don't
very
want to get
secret.
probably because they want people to think they're made by
That's
aliens,
right. And
but
then,
also because they didn't want to get shot or
no, but then
battered by a piece of wood.
but then it's been bringing the farmers in loads of publicity. So the farmers have been making money because allowing people to walk around these intricate designs. They've now retired, and somebody else has taken over.
Yeah, there you go. Brilliant. Okay. Anything else on lodging?
No, I just thought it was really interesting.
There you go. If anyone's got any top facts about lodging, get in touch with Josie. She'd love to hear about them. Okay, thank you very much. Until next time.
Bye.
Goodbye.